Now, a few hours on, I just wanted to, obviously revisit just one more time this fight that happens, obviously with Ward and Kovalev, and I just wanted to put a different perspective, a different slant for people to actually think, just the opposite view, just as you go through your daily lives today, whatever you just chosen to do, doesn't really matter, but just based on this fight, just imagine if actually Kovalev got this decision. Just visualize it, that Kovalev got the decision based on what you've seen. Would these same people who are actually crying foul, calling robbery, would they have said exactly the same thing if it was the other way round? Would they have said the same thing? Based on what you've seen. Did Kovalev, based, on the criteria that they've put out, because the criteria, as I see it, is the fact that Kovalev knocked Andre Ward down, in the second round. That is their only criteria based on what the fight that actually occurred. That's the only criteria that they're crying robbery, based on the fact that the guy Kovalev knocked Andre Ward down. And if Kovalev had got the decision based on just that, based on what you see, just survey the environment itself. Would the exact same conversation be out there as it is right now? I think we know what the answer to that would be. A straight fire no. They wouldn't have said jack shit. And to me, that speaks volumes. I know it's hypothetical. We can't honestly say, it's after the fact. We can honestly say, but based on what the evidence of the discussion as I have seen fit so far, that is the determination I've come to determine. And as I see it, the conversation is based on one round. And to me, that is not a basis for you to actually claim that Kovalev won the fight. Because I would not be crying foul. I'll tell you this now. I would not be crying foul if Kovalev got the decision. And the reason why I wouldn't be crying foul, even though it would have been a travesty, the reason I wouldn't cry foul is because at the end of the day, whatever the agenda was that was being pushed for that fight, if the sanctity of boxing was not going to be protected, then we don't have a sport. And I would just have said, look, fine, they're giving Kovalev the victory. Whatever the agenda they pushed through, even though based on what I've seen that Andre Ward did more to win the fight, but they gave the fight to Kovalev, I said, well, the sport of boxing has finally taken a turn for that could be, unfortunately irreparable. That's what I was said. Now, many people would have disagreed and said, "Oh well, you would have cried foul." No, I wouldn't. I was just like, no. They gave it to Kovalev. Okay, wrong decision, but at the end of the day, if that's how they see fit and they want to see the sport of boxing, then the sport of boxing is, you might as well just leave it as it is. But it would have been a wrong decision based on what actually occurred and what I actually saw. Now, you might disagree. I fully appreciate it. Disagree, whatever. But lay your case down and be fair. And lay your case based on what you saw. Not based on your emotions that has been clearly been influenced by, media activities, biased commentary. Not even, it's actually, for me, I don't think it does it justice to say biased commentary. It is incredibly ridiculous commentary from HBO. You'll be influenced. The media influences you. I don't go by that. I go by basically the fundamentals. I go straight back to the fundamentals. I look at exactly as I'm watching it. I'm looking for certain things. Certain, it is you look at certain angles, but it's not every single punch is thrown that scores. Just because somebody's throwing 100 punches doesn't mean that they're landing and scoring on those 100 punches. It don't work like that. And I've had this argument with people so many times. He's got to be effective, clean, effective punches. It's not just throwing a punch. Because fighters throw punches all the time. But is it clean and is it effective? Sometimes it's not. Andrew Ward threw the cleaner, effective punches. He did the more cleaner work. The fact that you weren't looking at that because you have a bias is down to you. It's not down to me. It's down to you. You don't know how to score fights. You don't know what you're looking at. Everything is based on another type of martial arts. You're probably looking at boxing and trying to equate it to another type of sport. And that is a problem. It is. The UFC have come in and people are scoring fights based on, I don't know what they're scoring. They're not scoring them based on boxing anymore. They're scoring on other things and they're trying to equate it to something else. This is boxing. This is a fun. You have to equate boxing for boxing. The fundamentals of boxing. That's it. Not about anything else. And if you have a bias, as I've said in my previous video, if you have a bias, then you unfortunately your judgment is clouded. Because you're probably looking at so many different other factors and you're taking other factors into consideration that are outside the remit of the fundamentals of which you should be watching the fight itself. That is a problem. That is down to you. That is your situation, not me. I'm just being honest and straightforward to the point. We can disagree about it. It happens every time. But if you cannot take those biases, if you cannot look at a fight and judge a boxing match based on the fundamentals of boxing, on the scoring, on how to, not on anything else, not on your own personal emotional, investment into one specific fight or another. You have to look at the fight as a whole. If it goes 12 rounds, you have to judge each round on its merits. Who did the cleaner work all through the round? Who had the ring generalship? Who had the, there's so many different factors. It's not just one single factor. It's not just clearly on punches thrown and punches landed. Don't work like that. There's so many other factors you have to look at. And that's the thing. When you look at the whole fight, there is no way you can say that Kovalev overall won the fight. It's not possible based on what happened, what actually happened. Not about your own emotional investment in the fight. Nothing to do with that. It's based on what actually happened. Stop it. What's killing the sport is stupidity, is dumbness, is ridiculous, is ignorance, it's pathetic, pinning your flags down to the wrong situations. It is sad because you are not boxing fans when you start talking crap. You are not boxing fans when you're talking garbage. And with all due respect, certain individuals on this forum talk garbage. It is not that they have a disagreement. No, it's pure garbage because they're not basing their own discussions based on the fundamentals of what the sport is all about. They're basing on something else. You can't keep getting away with it. Andrew Ward won the fight. Kovalev participated well in the fight, but he did not do enough to win that fight based on what actually happened in the fight. You cannot say Kovalev won the fight. You cannot claim robbery because that would mean that Kovalev had done a lot more. But when you watch the fight, Andrew Ward was doing a lot more than Kovalev. The things that were seen. It's not just about throwing. Kovalev threw punches. No, but what was he doing? Who was being the ring general? Who was dominating the fight? Who was influencing the fight to their own requirements in order for them to win the fight? And it was clearly Andrew Ward. Clearly. But it doesn't matter. It's you cannot convince certain people. But still, I just thought, let me just make this video. People who I disagree if you want to. It don't make no difference to me. But at the end of this is it. Andrew Ward is the champion. I'm very pleased for him. And people just cannot understand certain things. But I thought, let me reiterate it just one more time. But just imagine if Kovalev had won the fight. Would they have been making exactly the same arguments? The answer is no. Peace.
Peace.